This is the Professor, CBMD PhD, and today's Thursday, August 6, 2026. It is 4:47 and 29 seconds, AM Eastern Standard Time, and today's research, air pollution. So let's hop to it here. Dirty air may trigger painful rheumatoid arthritis flares. Fine particle air pollution may increase inflammation and trigger rheumatoid arthritis flare-ups. Date August 5th, 2026. Source: Elsevier. Tiny pollution particles from smoke, soot, and dust may worsen rheumatoid arthritis and raise the risk of painful flares, particularly after prolonged exposure. The findings suggest that avoiding poor air quality can become an important part of managing the disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, commonly known as RA, is a chronic autoimmune condition that causes inflammation and damage in the joints. It can also produce widespread symptoms that affect other areas of the body. The disease affects an estimated 0.5% to 1% of adults worldwide. Its development is influenced by a combination of genetics, changes in immune function, and environmental exposure. Some of these environmental influences may contribute not only to the initial development of RA, but also to worsening symptoms after the disease has been diagnosed. Importantly, several environmental risk factors can potentially be modified. Smoking is already recognized as a major risk factor. Researchers have also examined the possibility of effects of temperature, humidity, silica, and other pollutants. Earlier population studies found that exposure to polluted air was associated with a greater likelihood of developing rheumatoid arthritis. Researchers in South Korea wanted to determine whether air pollution could also affect disease activity and trigger flares in people who already had the condition. They also investigated the biological processes that might explain such a connection. This is one of the largest studies to use robust methods to link air pollutants with rheumatoid arthritis disease activity. Considering rising levels of air pollutants, these results have significant clinical, biologic, and public health implications. They also further reinforce that inhalants may have broad implications for risk and progression of rheumatoid arthritis and perhaps other autoimmune diseases. From a clinical perspective, this may offer avenues to lower the risk of rheumatoid arthritis flares by avoiding air with poor quality and provide some potential explanation for otherwise idiosyncratic rheumatoid arthritis flares. A prospective cohort study followed 1,070 people with rheumatoid arthritis at a major medical center in South Korea over 4 years, 2021 to 2024. The researchers collected information from 12,583 outpatient visits conducted under real-world clinical conditions. To estimate each patient's exposure, the team examined monthly levels of 6 common air pollutants: sulfur dioxide SO2, nitrogen dioxide NO2, ozone O3, carbon monoxide CO, particulate matter with a diameter of 10 micrometers, parts per million, sub 10, and particulate matter with a diameter of 2.5 micrometers, parts per million, sub 2.5. These measurements were then compared with disease activity and flare outcomes recorded during each visit. The analysis accounted for a wide range of factors that could influence the results. These include patient demographics, serologic status, the presence of specific antibodies typical of rheumatoid arthritis in the blood, medication use, socioeconomic conditions, and weather-related variables. The researchers also performed a sensitivity analysis designed to reduce the influence of factors that remain constant over time and to limit the possibility that disease activity itself affected the pollution measurements used in the monthly analysis. For this part of the research, they used a case crossover design based on daily pollutant concentrations before each appointment. Conditional logistic regression allowed them to compare changes within individual patients. The study found that higher parts per million sub 2.5 concentration was associated with increased disease activity and flare risk, notably prolonged exposure to elevated parts per million sub 2.5 over more than 2 weeks. Among the pollutants studied, parts per million sub 2.5 appeared to be the main contributor associated with increased rheumatoid arthritis activity. These particles are extremely small, even smaller than red blood cells. After being inhaled, They can pass from the lungs into the bloodstream and travel to the organs throughout the body. The researchers and scientific investigators say the particles may stimulate excessive production of reactive oxygen species, which are harmful molecules that can place cells under stress. This process may damage DNA and activate inflammatory responses in different organs, potentially contributing to greater rheumatoid arthritis activity and more frequent flares. While further studies are warranted to determine whether improving air quality can reduce disease activity in rheumatoid arthritis patients, we would recommend these patients avoid prolonged exposure to poor air quality, particularly high parts per million sub 2.5 levels. The researchers emphasize that additional studies are needed to determine whether reducing pollution exposure or improving air quality can directly lower disease activity in people with rheumatoid arthritis. Even so, the results suggest that limiting prolonged exposure during periods of poor air quality may be a practical precaution. Nevertheless, we should be aware that the observations pertain to the studied Korean population with a specific genetic background and under specific environmental circumstances. Whether these data hold true in other regions of the world should be a focus of future investigations. However, it is an excellent starting point for our better understanding of factors that may play a role in influencing disease activity and therapeutic responses of patients with rheumatoid arthritis. And it is an important wake-up call. The environment is likely an essential contributor to pain and inflammation in the patients for whom we care. And this videography was created for educational purposes only. My code name is Will. I'm Professor Christopher Brunet, leader of research scientist, ufologist, psychic, computer technician, computer programmer, philanthropist, writer, mathematician, artist, photographer, film producer, chef, animal, and nature lover. My passion is world peace. Have a great day. This is the Professor, CBMD, PhD, and today's